A whites only town is being built in Arkansas. I didn't see this one coming.
Meet Eric Orwoll. He's the co-founder of RTTL, which is Return to the Land. This gentleman and a few other white families have purchased 150 acres in Arkansas and also some land in Missouri, and they want to separate themselves from the rest of us. If you're white, you're in. If you're black, you're considered whack. If you're Jewish, they can't do this. And if you're Asian, you can't persuade them. And if you're gay, get out! Not today. Yeah, pretty much if you're not white, straight, and Christian, you just can't get into the club. Damn. And recently, he pulled up to TMZ to basically confront a pretty interesting interview about his beliefs. It was pretty long, but I want to highlight the most important parts of it.
You know, it's interesting. I'm hearing you that you want this kind of purist European culture and that it doesn't necessarily define you as racist, but the people you attract, whether you are or not, may well be hardcore racists. I mean, fair?
I still don't really know what you mean by racist. Valuing race in itself, I don't think there's any moral problem with that. Mistreating people because of their race, there's a problem there, sure.
Now, in this case, basically the man is asking him, listen, we understand that you guys want to move away from the rest of the world who's not like you, but don't you consider that to be racist? And very cleverly, he avoids the question by pretending that he doesn't understand what racism is. Got him! Clearly he understands what it is, but what he's saying here is it doesn't really matter. As long as we're not willing to admit that, we just want to be by ourselves. And that's the most important thing. So why is it racist? Like, why is somebody racist for wanting to do that? And he said that pretty much in the interview. So the interviewer decides to kind of rebuttal the question from a different position.
But you say valuing people because of their race. A lot of people would say you're devaluing people because of their race.
Well, just like to be something, you have to not be other things. To value something, you have to value it above other things. So if you value, Jewish identity and the Jewish people, then by default, you're going to value them above non-Jewish people.
And so he says, well, listen, there are many people who love themselves more than they love other people. To be something means that you can't be the other thing. That's true for somebody who says they're Jewish or somebody who says they're black. But the problem with this argument is it also eliminates people. Like, you can be certain things at the same time. Just because you're not white doesn't mean that you couldn't be gay. Or just because you're black doesn't mean that you shouldn't be Christian. It's pretty much of a bad faith argument as to what he's trying to accomplish, but I get it. He just doesn't want to be around us. So he loves himself and his other people more than he loves integration, which that is his prerogative. And you'd be surprised who agrees with him.
It's been an uptick in racism since Trump. Y'all know that. Y'all know. Y'all seen that they building a whites only town. I want to say it's in Ozark or something like that. Missouri. Is Ozark in Missouri? I don't know. Only Ozark I know is the Netflix show. I never heard of Ozark before that. But they're building a whites only town. And it's a white creator on here. I'm going to post his picture. He was so flabbergasted. Oh, it's 2025. We shouldn't be doing that. Yes, the fuck they should. And please build more. Please build more. Let us know who you are. Because I want to know that I don't need to with you.
Now, clearly you have people such as this lady who's from the black community like, look, we glad you're gonna stay over there. We want to know exactly who you are. And you know what? I gotta be honest to say, I applaud people like this. And the reason why, it's not because of their position. It's because of their willingness to stand firm in their ground, to say, hey, listen, this is really what we believe. We don't really want to be around you, and we're not trying to pretend to be around you, but hey, this is what we think. We believe this. And I think that's fair because so many times as blacks or minorities, we get around people who we think that we're past that zone, which is racism and prejudice, and only to find out later that this same person is talking behind your back, calling you this, calling you that, or is behind you struggling and something like that. So it's pretty good to understand that you know exactly how the person feels and they want to move very, very far away. And then there's also another problem with this whole situation.
So a certain segment of the black community is up in arms. Tell me something I don't know. They're upset at the fact that a group called Return to the Land has set up an all-white settlement in an area of Arkansas. This group is now working on setting up another settlement in an area in Missouri. Now, I'm not one for segregation, believe me, but I believe I'll live next to whoever wants to live next to me. And if they don't, that's their business. But let's not act like black people haven't been segregating themselves for years.
But wait, it gets worse.
Let's not forget, a couple years ago, Ashley Scott and Renee Walters got together and created their own community, their own black community. They wanted to create generational wealth and keep their legacy and culture. So I'm confused. What's the problem when the white people want to do it? And I know what you're going to say. You're going to try to bring up history and that victimization mentality. We're not doing that. We are not doing that. That happened many years ago. We're talking about now.
So both of these are black creators on TikTok who are saying, listen, these white people have every right to move away from blacks. Because why? Nobody says it's the wrong thing when blacks do it. Now, again, when you listen to an argument like this, it seems that the argument is based in meritocracy and parity, but unfortunately, it's not. You see, the reasons why whites want to be away from blacks, it's not a power issue, okay? It's not an abuse issue. I don't think that none of these whites can say that I want to be away from blacks or Hispanics or Jews or gays, because I feel like, I'm in danger. I hit a ceiling in my career. No. You want to know what the reasoning that he used? Well, I'm tired of this system failing in the LGBTQ. Those are the arguments. Now, typically when blacks moved away from whites, like we have in Mound Bayou, Mississippi, it was to create their own city away from oppression. And that's why Mound Bayou was the first black city in the country. And what you saw in Mound Bayou was something that you ended up seeing in other places, such as Haiti in North Carolina. We also saw this in Tulsa with Black Wall Street. The ability of blacks to fund their own situation, start their own businesses, start their own social groups for fear of discrimination. And eventually, we already know what happened with Mound Bayou and Haiti in North Carolina, Raleigh districts and Tulsa. They ended up doing what the blacks feared, which is destroying them. These white people are not oppressed. Black people still leave the United States out of that fear. Now, we don't have to say that that fear is qualified in your honest opinion, but many blacks do it for many reasons. I live in the continent of Africa, and many strong pro-blacks have left the United States out of some level of fear, all right? Because of oppression, they feel like they have more opportunity in Africa than they do there. And that's the same reason why blacks wanted to buy the land to basically build their own communities. It was not because they hated whites or they were trying to preserve their blackness because of the same reasons why the whites are. No, the whites are doing it for a completely different reason. And I believe within that reason, there is a superiority complex, and that's why they're also doing it, because they believe that their culture could be better than somebody else's. They could be inferred in that, and that's typically what traditional races think. So when you get blacks arguing on, this particular side of the coin, they're trying to say, well, the blacks are doing it, nobody says anything, and now the whites are doing it. But you're not arguing from the same position, which I feel is completely negligent and irresponsible. But wait, there's more. Mr. Orwoll is quite active on X. He says this: we've been blown away by the level of support. White Americans want and deserve our own spaces, and we're going to do what it takes to secure them. If you use Ethereum or USDC and you want to support me to keep it up, here's this long thing there. He also says the same thing. Some folks have expressed that they'd like to donate through Bitcoin and Tether. Bitcoin, thanks for support. It's needed and appreciated. Now, this is interesting. When you want to start your own community, you do so by begging for donations. This is different from when our ancestors did it in Black America. You see, we couldn't sit back and beg for support on Twitter and get money on our Bitcoin for free from random white folks that we didn't know to build what we want to see. No, you build what you want to see by actually doing the hard work, establishing commerce, establishing, the things in the city, like what happened in Mound Bayou. But clearly, Mr. Orwoll is not doing so. At the same time, he wants to be away from the rest of the world, but at the same time, he doesn't have any money to fund his dreams. So he's no different than any other scammer out there, in my honest opinion. You want somebody else to pay for your segregation. When the blacks did it, we had to pay for our own separation. And many of us who come to any part of the world, be it Uganda, be it Ghana, people are working, saving their own money in doing so. Even coming back to the United States, working some more, saving up their money, and then coming back, reinvesting, and then creating those systems that make it valuable. Now, you have this 150 acres of land. I really believe that you don't have a whole bunch of skill there or anything to market to the rest of the world. And that could be true. But when I see people like Mr. Orwoll, I'll tell you what really happens with folks like this. There's typically a bunch of guys who are unskilled, who don't have money, who feel like the world has betrayed them. And well, I'm not going to say that they're losers, but I can guarantee that they're not very successful people, because there are many people who share his particular mentality, but there's a problem. There are certain groups of white people who share his mentality that don't even want to be around him. And why is that? Because a guy like Orwoll can't do anything for anybody. Even the greatest white supremacists and racists can't be around a person that doesn't have anything going for him. And a lot of these guys that are moving into this community, I can guarantee they're lowly skilled, lowly educated. Nobody left their Wall Street job to go move to Arkansas with a bunch of guys they don't know that may or may not have criminal records. They may or may not be, all kind of weird things. We don't really know. And I'm going to be honest, a lot of people just don't care. And honestly, if these are the kind of people that want to move to a place that nobody knows in Arkansas, in Missouri, I say, hey man, congratulations. I hope that is very, 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 very successful for you. I hope you get all the country dirt land cheeks that you can get for the rest of your life. I mean, seriously. And the reality is it's probably going to fail anyway. And like I said, a bunch of other groups come to America, come to the part of the world and keep their strong traditions while integrating with other people. I'll tell you a group that does it very well. Indians. You see Indians come to America. Usually their kids grow up in the times are changing, but you don't really see them marrying outside of their culture. They're here in Uganda, they're in India. You see the Somalians do it a lot wherever they go. Yeah, it's just unfortunate for these guys. They can't do it because really they probably don't have very much to offer. But guys, what do you think? It's your boy O'Shea Duke Jackson back at it again with another episode of The Celebrity Junk. I appreciate you for all that you do. Subscribe to the bell. We're out.